CSS. Okay, so first of all we want to know what is CSS, and CSS stands for cascading style sheets. CSS stands for cascading style sheet. Okay, CSS stands for cascading style sheet, and this CSS is a style sheet language. This is a style sheet language, and used for describing the look and feel of the web page. Describing the look and feel of the web page. Okay, so using CSS we can uh, arrange the styles for the HTML elements like background color and font color, font styles, uh, margins, paddings, okay, background images, and the border styles. So number of things we can do using CSS. So like CSS fonts, colors, margins, lines, height, width, okay, background images, and like this we can do. So for example, you want to add background color for our HTML form. Okay, just we can use background property in CSS to arrange background color or background image. Okay, for example, we want to add border styles. Okay, in CSS we have border style property. So in border style we have now 9 to 10 types of border styles. So you can use any one type of border style like dotted borders or solid borders, double line border. So like this we can use. Okay, so to do all these things in CSS, first of all we have to know how to use CSS in HTML forms. Okay, so there are three ways. So there are three ways to include CSS in HTML forms. Okay, there are three ways to insert CSS in HTML forms. First of all, external style sheets. And second one is internal styles. And third one, inline styles. Okay, and these are the three ways to insert CSS in HTML forms. So what is this in external and internal and inline styles? Okay, external style sheet is a external style sheets are stored in CSS files with the .css extension. These files are stored in CSS files with the .css extension. Okay, .css extension like your file name, my styles dot css. Okay, like this you need to create CSS files. And before you start working with the CSS, so we have to know this what is the external style sheet and internal and inner styles. So style sheet is a ideal, okay, when the style is applied to many pages. External style sheet is a ideal when the style is applied to many pages. Okay, So using these .css files we can apply CSS styles to the many pages. Okay, for example, you need to change website background color for the entire website. Okay, just you can change that in .css file, so it will reflect to the entire application. Okay, suppose suppose you want to change website background color or image. Okay, total website background color or image. So just change, you can change in .css file, so that it will reflect to the entire application. It will reflect to the entire application. Okay, just you need to change in one .css file, so it will reflect to the entire application. No need to change in all pages in the website. Okay, for example, you want to change font style also. Okay, you can change in .css file, if it will reflect to the entire application. So with external style sheet you can change the look and feel of the entire website, okay, by changing in one .css file. So to work with the external style sheets, you need to use link tag in HTML. Okay, in header section or in body section we can use. Okay, use link tag and type attribute, type text CSS. So this actually no need to specify in HTML file. Okay, but if you want to use this, you can use type attribute, and a href is the attribute to provide the .css file path. My styles .css, and rel attribute is must. Okay, relation is style sheet. That is the relation of style sheet. Okay, this is the syntax to call .css file in HTML forms. Okay, you can use .css files either in header section or in body section. Okay, so this is the external style sheet. So we can so first of all so do one example on this external style sheet. So from today I want to use Sublime Text Editor. Okay, just open that our project folder. Okay, open folder. Okay, CSS. Okay, create one new file, create HTML form like doc type HTML. Okay, sample. Otherwise use external styles .html. Okay, so our file is saved in this our project folder. Header section and body section. Okay, in body section we have one div tag. So this div tag contains some information to display. So copy this information and paste here. So this is sample content to display. And create one .css file, another file. Save this file with the .css extension. mystyles.css. Okay, CSS file also saved in our project folder. So write some CSS properties for div tag. So take id div1. Okay, this is id for div tag. In .css file, write some CSS properties. I will explain this. Okay, how to write this CSS properties in external files or internals and inline styles. So using id selector in CSS we have selectors, okay, to apply CSS properties to the HTML elements. Okay, based on element id we can apply CSS to the HTML elements. So this is the
Excuse me,
as.
sir.
Yes,
Can you please increase the size of your screen? Is there any way that you can do that?
font size.
Yeah, because it's like really small. Or you can just increase the size of your window on your laptop. I guess that will increase the font size.
Size is increasable. One second. So we have one div tag with id div1, and in CSS file using as and followed by id of the div tag. So we have in CSS we have the selectors like element selectors, id selectors, and class selectors. Okay, based on element id or based on element class name and based on element name also we can apply CSS properties. Okay, so in CSS we have written as div1. So this is actually id selector based on element id. So we are finding, okay, element in HTML form. Okay, using this id we are finding element in HTML form and followed by uh, this is for id selector. Okay, well if you define this as, so it will take it as element selector, no sorry, id selector. Okay, this is find out the element with id div1 and apply CSS properties like background color, okay, red, um, text color white. So in real-time applications, don't use color names like red, white, yellow, blue. So like this. So use color codes only. Okay, for red color, white color, or any color, use color codes. So for color codes, for your reference, so search in Google HTML color codes. Okay, you can get HEX color code. Okay, so copy this color code and paste here. Okay, for white also, for white triple F is okay, the white color. Next, div height 200 pixels and width 200 pixels. Okay, so now we need to link up these two files, external styles.html file and mystyles.css file. Okay, to link up these two files, in a header section use link tag. Okay, in href mystyles.css. Okay, relation style sheet and type text css and href css file path mystyles.css. So because these two files in same folder, that's why directly given the name mystyles.css. If your css files in separate folder like css files, okay, uh, so go to, okay, so this is our css file. So open html form, css files slash mystyles.css. So now run this example, open in browser. Okay, so div with the background color and the text color. Okay, go to inspect and you can see css styles. Okay, div1 background color and the text color, height to width. So this is the external files example. So create a .css file and write some css properties for html forms and link up those two files with the link tag in html.
So,
Yes,
so any
so we have taken one paragraph extra and in css file write like so there is no id and class for this element. Okay, so based on element name is p. Okay, so text color, use this same text color. Okay, and font size 25 pixels. So like this we can apply. So save this css file and run here. Okay, you can see. So this is what this is the way you have to change the css properties for every html element.
okay, thank you.
So there is a that is what I'm saying. So we have selectors in html. So based on selectors we can apply css properties like id and element. And if we have class attribute, okay, you want to add css properties using class, just use for class selectors, use dot symbol and followed by class name. Okay, for id selectors use dash symbol. Okay, for class selectors use dot and followed by class name. Okay, save this and refresh here. So same class is applied. Okay, uh, so this is the external files example. So So if you have, for example, in your application, if you are in you are creating one website, so with a number of files, with a number of HTML forms, uh, you can change your CSS, your styles in one .css file only. Okay, for all HTML forms, HTML elements.
Sir,
Hmm.
what difference does a ID and a class make?
The difference between ID and class is
Yeah.
faster than ID selector. Okay, ID. So when you are applying CSS properties to the HTML element, so this class is faster than ID. Okay, for example, you want to find out this element uh, using ID or class, also you can find out. But class is the faster than ID. So that is the main difference.
Fast to refer from .css to .html.
Sorry.
Faster, you mean like to refer from .css file to
Yeah,
.html?
it will increase the application performance. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So next, so after complete the external files, internal styles. Uh, internal style is used when single document has a unique styles. Okay, these styles is used for when single document, single HTML document need unique styles. Okay, we can use internal styles. For example, in our website, so number of say HTML files is there. Okay, home, like home or contact us, and services, products. So like this number of forms is there. For contact us, you need only separate CSS properties and like the separate uh, styles. Okay, you can write, you can use internal styles for that form only. Internal style sheet needs to put in the header section of HTML page. Internal style sheet needs to put in header section of HTML page. Okay, so use style tag, use style tag, use style tag in HTML header section or body section to include CSS styles. Okay, internal styles. Syntax in header section, use style tag and write CSS properties. Directly we can write here like a D1 and followed by some CSS properties like background color, font size, font style, like this. Or in body section also we can use style tag. in body, use style tag. So there is no difference between uh, using header section or body section. Okay, same CSS properties will apply. Okay, you need to write CSS properties between open bracket and close bracket. So just use style tag to insert internal style sheets. No need to create .css files. Directly in HTML form, we can include CSS styles using style tag. So for this, just create one HTML form, that is internal styles .html. Okay, the external style and internal styles. Just copy this, and now we can remove this. Okay, external style. So now we have div and paragraph. In header section, use style tag, and now we are using class selector. Okay, so in div element we have class attribute. Okay, div1. For class selectors, use dot and followed by class name and flower brackets. So between these two flower brackets, uh, number of CSS properties we can write: background color, okay, and color, triple F white color, and the height 300 pixels, width 400 pixels, okay, and padding 20 pixels. Okay, so now run this example. Okay, so background color, height 300 pixels, and the width 300 400 pixels. Okay, so remove this one. Okay, so width is 400 pixels, height 300 pixels, and the background color blue, text color white, and padding 20 pixels. So I will explain what is this padding, okay, in later classes. So using external internal styles, we can apply CSS properties to the HTML forms. Okay, so if uh, any tag or any HTML form needs different and unique styles, okay, you can use internal styles. Next, inline styles. So for inline styles, like if you need uh, small piece of code has to be styled when inline styles.
So,
Yes,
so you have used the dot div and your
inline styles, any small piece of code, small piece of code needs uh, separate styles. For example, in your HTML form, uh, so number of elements is there. Div element is span, okay, paragraphs and text boxes. So number of elements is there in our HTML form. So but you need different style for only one paragraph. Okay, so if you need small piece of code to be styled, then inline styles sheets can be used. Like you want to display one paragraph in different styles, you can use inline styles. Inline styles allows us many of the advantages of style sheets by mixing content with presentation. To use inline styles, you use the style attribute in the relevant tag. Use style tag. Use style attribute. Sorry. Use style attribute in the relevant tag to apply CSS properties. Okay, syntax is, so we have the paragraph like this. So this is the content sample paragraph, and you want to display uh, with the different CSS properties with the different styles. Use style attribute and write your CSS properties. Same CSS properties. Okay, background color. Okay, and text color. But you need to separate these CSS properties with semicolon. Color. So like this, you can specify the number of CSS properties. Okay, in inline. So those are called inline styles. Create one HTML form. Inline styles dot html. So now remove this one, and okay, so we can use this div tag, and I don't want to use any internal styles and external styles, so I want to use inline styles. Just use style attribute of relevant tag. Okay, and write CSS properties. Okay, like a background color, background image. Okay, number of styles we can use. Okay, now run this example. Only background color and text color is applied. Run this. Okay, so div tag background color and text color is applied. You can see style attribute with two properties, background color and text color properties. So this is inline styles only. You can use all CSS properties like background color and height, width, text color, padding, and all the properties we can use. For each and every tag, so we have style attribute. Okay, font size 20 pixels and font um, So font style is italic. Okay, save this and run this example. Okay, so now paragraph styles also applied. Font size is 20 pixel and the font style is italic font. So like this we can write for each and every element in HTML. Okay, like div tags, span, and the input tags also you can use. So these are the three ways to include CSS properties in HTML forms. To understand these three ways, like external styles, inline styles, and internal styles. So there is selectors in CSS. Okay, to apply CSS properties to the HTML elements. So we have three types of selectors to apply CSS properties to HTML elements. So that is first one, element selector, and second one is ID selector, and class selectors. So these are the three ways to apply CSS properties to the HTML elements. So already we used these three ways, like element selector, ID selector, and class selectors. Okay, in these examples, so already we used this. Okay, class selector used, and ID selector used, and element selector also using. Okay, this is element selector. So what is element selector? So if you are using element selector, if you want to apply some CSS properties, or okay, so if you want to apply some CSS properties to the HTML element, we can use these three ways. Okay, element selector. So element selector selects elements, okay, in the HTML form based on the element name. Okay, the selector select elements in HTML form based on element name only. Okay, based on element name. Based on the element name, it will find out the elements in HTML form and find out that element and apply CSS properties. So syntax is, so we have one div tag in HTML. Okay, sample div tag. Okay, and we can use style tag, that is internal styles. In internal styles, directly we can use element name. Okay, element name, and write CSS properties like the text color, red color, and followed by number of CSS properties. Okay, so this style find out the element with the element name like div. Okay, find out that element and apply these CSS properties to the HTML element. For example, if you have number of div tags in HTML form, okay, like this, number of div tags is there. Okay, so this style is applied to the all div elements. Okay, all developments is applied same CSS properties. If you need different styles for all div tags, you can use id selector or class selector. But if you want to apply same styles for all div tags, you can use element selector. If you want to apply same styles for all same elements, you can use element selector. Okay, element selector. If you want to apply same styles for all elements, for all same elements, you can use element selector. If you need different styles for all div tags, you can use id selector, class selector. So one example for id selector. So already we have done these examples. id selector.html. So this is one div tag and this is another paragraph in HTML form. So now use style, use style tag, and use element name. Okay, we have div tag in HTML form, right? So using element name, we are finding element in the HTML form and applying CSS properties. Okay, same CSS properties for div. And for paragraph, separate CSS styles. Color red, font size 25 pixels, font size like italic. Okay, so in our HTML form, only one div tag and one paragraph, right? One second. So now in our HTML form, one div tag, one paragraph. Okay, so written CSS properties based on element name. Okay, div tag and paragraph. So now run this example. So for div tag, background color and height, width and text color is applied. Okay, and the next paragraph, only text color and font size and font style. So this style is applied. For example, if we need uh, another div tags and paragraphs with the same styles. So this is sample div. Okay, and you need another paragraph. This is another paragraph. So now run this example. Okay, two div tags and two paragraphs with the same styles. Okay, so if you want to display same elements with the same styles, you can use element selector. But if you want to apply different styles for uh, different div elements or different elements, okay, like paragraphs or div tags, any other tags, you want to display different styles. Okay, for first div you want to apply some styles, for second div you want to apply some different styles, and first paragraph you want to apply some css styles, and for second paragraph you want to apply different styles. For this we can use id selector or class selector. So actually this name is element selector, right? Not id selector. So this is the example for element selector. Next, id selector. Id selector selects the elements. Selector selects elements with the specified id of the html element. So for example, you can use syntax. So paragraph, okay, with id is p1, and we have another paragraph paragraph 2, and id is p2. Okay, so you want to apply different styles for those two paragraphs. Okay, paragraph 1 and paragraph 2, you can apply different styles for these two paragraphs. Okay, in style you can write for first paragraph 1, okay, using # symbol. Okay, this symbol specifies the id selector and followed by id of the element. So this selector, in css the selector find out the html element with id is p1 and apply some these css properties. Okay, in element selector the selector find out the element in the html form with this name. So we have number of elements with the same name. So for all these elements same styles is applied. But if you need different styles for all same elements, okay, same like div tags or paragraphs or any other elements, okay, if you need different styles, use id selectors. These ids are different for each and every same elements, okay, like paragraphs or div elements or anything. So we have two paragraphs, so this is p1 and this is p2. So these two are different ids. So based on id we can apply different styles. So not element selector here, this is id selector. So these ids are different. p2. So now here you can use another color like blue. Okay, so this is the syntax for id selector. So create an html form, id selector.html. So same HTML form, okay, with IDs. So in HTML we have two div elements and two paragraphs, and now we can give IDs for these elements equal to div1, okay, and the second div ID equal to div2, and for paragraph ID equal to p1, and for second paragraph p2. Okay, so now ID is available. So using ID selector we can apply different styles for elements. For ID selector, use hash symbol and followed by ID of the element. So based on this ID name, okay, ID, so the selector find out the element in the HTML form. So with ID equal to this ID, so then these properties will apply. Okay, now run this example. Okay, first div CSS properties applied, and first paragraph applied, but we didn't write second div and second paragraph, right? So now we can write for second paragraph and second div. Then div2. So this background color is dark red. So run this example. So use color code. So that's why don't use color names. Directly you can use color codes only. Okay. So now these two div elements with the same different styles, and these two paragraphs same styles. Okay, there is no difference between these two paragraphs. So now we can use element selector. If you need same styles for all paragraphs, you can use element selector. If you need different styles for same elements, you can use ID selector. Next, class selector. So this selector also same as ID selector. Same as ID selector, but the difference is class selector is little bit faster than ID selector. Okay, so that it will increase the application performance. It will increase application performance. Okay, so class selector selects elements. Selector selects elements with a specific class attribute. The specific class attribute. Okay, syntax is so we have the paragraph with ID with the class equal to my p. Okay, my paragraph is the class name. Sample paragraph. And you can use number of paragraphs also for if you need same styles. Okay, here also you can use class selector. Use style tag and use class name. Okay, my p is the class name. For class selectors, use dot. Okay, so like this you need to write some CSS properties here. Okay, if you need same styles for all paragraphs, you can use same class. Otherwise, you can write different style, different classes. For class selector.html, so now so we can remove this. Okay, these two div tags we can remove. So only two paragraphs is there. For these two paragraphs, use class names. Okay, class attribute. So this class name is same p1. Okay, so if you are using class selector, specify dot symbol and followed by class name. So this selector find out the element in HTML form with the class name is equal to this p1. So this name, and find out that element and apply these properties. So now run this example. Okay, this paragraph and this is another paragraph. Okay, this is class, right? Okay, so these are the class selectors in CSS. Okay, based on selectors, so we can choose. Okay, how we can apply CSS properties to the HTML elements. Okay, based on ID and class and element selectors. Okay, based on element name, we can find out the HTML elements in CSS and apply say CSS properties.